Welcome to Spectrum Perspectives, real talk with parents, professionals, and autism advocates, with your host, Cindy Gellermini.
Welcome to today's episode. I'm going to be interviewing Suzi, who runs the Special Needs Sunday School program at Liquid Church in New Jersey. Liquid is a really big church. It began in Morristown years ago, and it has spread to multiple campuses, and I've heard wonderful things about their special needs ministry. I had my own issue about trying to find special needs ministries when my son was little and could find nothing. So to me, this is an area that really needs improvement. And they're doing a great job, and they have really built up a dynamic children's ministry there for special needs kids. And so I brought her on to interview her today in hopes that she will inspire other churches to do the same. So let's talk to Suzi. Hi, everybody. This is Cindy with another episode of Spectrum Perspectives. And today I have a special guest. Her name is Suzi Soares. And you run a special needs ministry at your church. So I just want to explain to everybody why I wanted to have you on. In my children's book series, the second to last chapter, it's called Sundays in the Summertime. And I based it off as the experience that I had with churches when my son was little. There was nowhere for him to go. My other kids had Sunday school classes, but Robbie couldn't speak. He couldn't participate in a typical Sunday school class. He went to a special school for autistic kids. He didn't go to public school. And there was just nothing for him at the time. And then when he was older as an adult, I tried to start a special needs ministry at my church at the time for other families, not even for me, just because I felt that there was a need. And when I brought it up to them that you really need a special ed teacher to deal with these kids because of their behaviors, like they're going to kick, hit, pinch, bite, run away, I think it freaked them out. And I just never heard another word about it. The whole thing just sort of faded into oblivion and never happened. And I addressed it in a couple of my episodes on my YouTube channel, where I had a really bad day with Robbie one day. It was Easter, and he wouldn't get dressed and he wouldn't come. And he attacked my daughter actually and ripped their clothes and stuff. And I had to, in between two services on a Sunday, on Easter Sunday, I had to sing with the music ministry. Then I had to run to my daughter's apartment, go make Robbie get dressed, bring him back. And literally they were starting the music for the second service. And I just ran right back up on the altar and started again and just sang, and no one had any idea what had just gone down within that past 15 minutes. And I think a lot of special needs families can relate. Yes. And when I had tried to start this special needs ministry too, I interviewed other moms about their experiences, and they kind of all said the same thing. There's nothing for our kids. So what they do is you either try to bring them to church and it doesn't work because they start getting noisy and whatever. So you take them out, or they just don't go. They just stay home. So all the years Robbie was growing up, he stayed home with his dad, and because I was more involved in ministry, he'd stay home with him, and we split everything up. So in the book, I created a fantasy church that actually had a special needs ministry. And Robbie the Penguin was so happy at this new church. And I kind of loosely based it on Liquid Church in New Jersey because I knew that you guys had a special needs ministry. I had heard about it. I heard great things about it. So I wanted to actually meet you and bring you on and talk to you. Tell us about what you guys do. And I'm hoping that this will spark something in other people because we have viewers all over the country. So I'm sure there's other places out there where people say, gee, I wish we had what you guys had in New Jersey. So maybe you can help them, approach their churches and tell them how they can do it as well. So first of all, just tell everybody a little bit about you, about who you are, and how you got involved in this. And I also want to know how this all started. How did this begin?
Yeah. Okay. So my husband, Alex, and I have 3 kids. I can't even believe we have a 21-year-old son, a 19-year-old daughter, and then our youngest is 16. His name is Ethan, and he has autism and epilepsy. And as we were going through the whole diagnosis process and all of the learning everything from scratch with him when he was about 3, we were looking for a church at that time, because we went through some of the same challenges that you've described. And we were still kind of figuring it out ourselves too, even how to best include him on a Sunday. And we started attending Liquid Church. And a few months later, I actually joined the staff working with their children's ministry, and with the intention of starting a special needs ministry. At that
How
point,
long ago was this?
in 2011.
Okay.
So,
So it's like 10 years.
yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Were they in Morristown at the time?
Yes.
Yeah, because I know they started there and they branched out. Yeah.
And so, at that point, like I said, we had been attending for a few months. I had expressed like, hey, I have this dream that we would do a little bit more for our kids with special needs, rather than just, let's just put them in front of an iPad, or let's just, we can do better than that. And the leadership was completely on board and was just like, what do you need? And so we started out really small with just a couple of kids. My son was one of them. And, we started to pair kids with a buddy. That's what we call them. It's basically like an aide. And
This is an adult?
In some cases, it's an adult. In some cases, it's a teenager. It depends on the needs of the student, as well as the pairing of the individual that's going to be a buddy. We tell our buddies, like when they start out, there's a chemistry thing that happens between, the buddy and the student. So don't be offended if this doesn't go the way you hoped. It might just not be the right fit, and we'll try with another child. So that's kind of been our posture all along, just to make it better every single week. So the few that we started out with, we would evaluate what worked, what didn't work that Sunday, and then plan for the next Sunday. And it was a lot of interaction with the parents during the week, kind of from their perspective, what worked, what didn't work. But our goal was to not call the parents during the service. We joke about it, but it's the truth. We say we'll do anything short of sin to keep a child with us, so that mom and dad can have that, or whoever is caring for the child can have that worship experience, because we know that if mom or dad or whoever is able to have that experience on Sunday and get a little bit of grounding in their own faith and feel connected to their community, the whole family is going to be better for it on the rest of the week, not just on Sunday. So yeah, that's kind of how it started, with just a few. And after doing that for several months, we had kind of grown probably to about servicing 10 kids on a Sunday. And that's when Pastor Tim Lucas, said, hey, I want to know how we can take this to the next level. How can I help? And
so let me stop you right there. So what were they doing? Where were they going? Like these first few kids, like, did you bring them into their own classroom? Like, what type of activities did you do with them if they weren't just in front of their iPad? Correct.
We were, so from day one, we went full inclusion. And so that's messy. Anybody that's familiar knows that it is. And it was a lot of, that's, the going back to what can we do to make it better next week, wasn't just for the buddy and for the student, but also for the classroom. How do we support the rest of the volunteers who are in the room, small group leaders that are working with kids at varying, age levels, and what else do we need to do to equip the room, the environment? So we really kind of took even everything in our curriculum, went to the cutting board, and it was literally like, how does this environment support all learners? And so a lot of changes had to take place in those early years just to make it possible and to help kind of build the culture for inclusion.
Give me a for instance. Like,
so I would say, let's go with like our toddlers or our preschool rooms. A lot of churches, you see just toys everywhere. And yet when it comes time for the Bible lesson, people are confused why a kid doesn't want to sit for the Bible lesson and would rather, go to the toy corner, and something that's over there is way more interesting. So it meant changing even how toys are stored, how things are put away, so that visually for a child, it's very clear what is coming next, and even changing the format of the day so that there was some consistency. So every child knew that there are cues now. So when it's time, when you come in and you have opening play time, and then there's a cue with music with a cleanup song. And so now you know, okay, it's helping everybody in the room, not just the child with special needs, it's helping everybody know this is what's coming next. And so there were little things like that, but when you add all those little things together, you know, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Do you have people that are preschool teachers or, people that are helping figure these type of things out?
Absolutely, yeah. So I do have a curriculum team. At the time, it was a little bit of here, there, whoever we could gather. Obviously, we're in a different place 10 years later, so I have a team who all of our curriculum writers have special ed experience. And so they're looking at it through the lens of all learners, all types of activities. And still to this day, every Sunday we have a survey that we collect feedback from every location on what was the experience like for the kids as they did the curriculum. So, I mean, I could tell you as fresh as Sunday, there was one campus that said, hey, like there were way too many physical activities. It also happened to be our campus here in Parsippany that has the largest special needs population. So you have too many physical activities and you can just think about that for a minute, like that probably was a little overstimulating in some cases, right? So there were probably some kids that absolutely loved it. And then there were some that probably went home a little too wired. So it's just, adapting and adjusting. And so we're constantly evaluating that part hasn't changed for us, how to make it better. But when I think back to those early days, it really was as simple as how do we make it better for the next week and have everybody on the same page with the same plan of what's going to happen. Here's plan A, B, C. When things don't go right, this is what we're going to do next. And that really was what kind of shaped the culture for the whole ministry.
Interesting. Okay, so keep walking me through it. So now your son was how old at the time? How old did you say he is now? 16?
He's 16, yeah.
So he was 6.
Yeah, he was 6 by the time we got this all rolling.
So would you put him in with other 6-year-olds, other first graders?
Yep, we did. And, they're definitely, I would just say one of the challenges that we have noticed over the years is that because of, how some kids will interact socially, the parent to some degree is thinking, oh, I should put them with younger kids, or maybe it's even academic, because when they hear that we're an inclusion ministry, you think, okay, 6-year-olds. So is that child typically reading by 6? What kind of classroom? And so then they'll say, oh, well, we want our child to go down to the next level. And we really push hard to try to keep them with their same age peers, because we recognize that we don't want this to be a one and done, like, oh, you came to our program on Sunday as a little child and you went into a younger classroom. And then as you grew older, you didn't actually know any, peers as a teen or even as a young adult. And so we've worked really hard, and it does present challenges, but to keep kids with their same peers. So my son now is in high school, and he is part of our high school ministry and is part of a high school small group. And it comes with its own set of challenges, but it's also been amazing to watch him come up with the same group of kids. So they're not surprised, when he has a vocalization or, stands up suddenly and needs to go take a walk. They're used to it. They've known him since he was, much younger. So that part of it is worth all of the trying when they're younger to make it work and to really have it happen.
Yeah, that's really cool, actually, thinking that he's grown up with all of these kids now since they were little, and they all know him, they know his behaviors, whatever. Can he speak?
He partially. He at home will use mostly, single words, few carrier phrases, to get his needs and wants, across. An occasional comment, things like that. He does use a device, And so when he's in a place where he's unfamiliar, if someone's gonna, be able to understand him clearly, or he thinks that you're not understanding. I mean, there've been plenty of times where I know exactly what he's saying and I'm saying no, and then he breaks out the device like,
he thinks you're not understanding yet.
Yeah,
like, no, I understand you. The answer is no.
The answer is still no.
Right.
So yeah, that always cracks me up when he does that. Actually, that was like a thing when kind of flipping back for a second, when he was younger, if he had the same one or two buddies that would work with him within a school year. So they would kind of alternate weeks. And occasionally he would have a sub, somebody's sick or somebody's away. And he learned how to work the system. He started using his device to tell the substitute buddy that he gets hot dogs during,
Oh.
And so I remember the first time somebody came to me and said, he says he gets a hot dog now. And I was like, oh, welcome to the creativity behind our children. They know exactly what they want and how to get it. And so, yeah, that for me, I was like, okay, so now we have to work on that with our buddies, definitely the ones that are subbing in and kind of setting expectations. But
that is so typical of children, though, to push the subs and try
absolutely.
to get away with stuff.
Yeah, that part always made me crack up. I'm like, okay, I actually love that typical behavior that I'm seeing there.
A little stinker. Tell me about your buddies. Like, how do you get people to sign up to be buddies? Is it difficult or no?
I would say initially, it was not at all. We're definitely in a different season right now, and in the midst of still
let's
COVID.
Let's talk pre-COVID, and then we'll get to where we are now. So back in the beginning.
Yeah. Pre-COVID, I would say in the early days, when Pastor Tim cast the vision of this is the kind of church we want to be, where there's a seat at the table for everyone. People really caught the vision. There were people who were like, sign me up. I want to be a buddy. I don't know anything about this, but I want to learn. We definitely had professionals that raised their hand and said, I can definitely contribute to this and help. And then we had people that gave to it, that maybe they couldn't give of their time, but they wanted to give financially to it. And it was really a very overwhelming response, actually, of just like, and it was perfect because literally within a month's time, our special needs ministry more than doubled. And so
build it, they will come.
Yes, exactly. So it was perfect timing because we really needed all those additional volunteers. We needed the resources to be able, to really help support everyone well in the process, everything, from equipment and fidgets and all those kinds of things. And it was really just amazing to watch people then start to tell other people, families that they knew in their neighborhood or their kids' school, and word of mouth just kind of, started to spread, and so a lot of our families, but also our volunteers, came through. And so I think whenever we've raised our hand and said, hey, there's a need, we have this, this new child, and a little brief profile on this child. We try to really tell their story in an honoring way that, if this child were to look back on this story later on in life, that they would still feel dignity about the way that we even shared their story, and use it to kind of cast vision to people like, hey, this is the need, this is who we need on Sunday. And so if you fit that profile, like, come talk to us. And so generally that has worked. And then the other thing that we did a couple years ago, we started Parents Night Out, which is a respite once a month, where the parents can drop off their child with special needs, but also all their siblings, right? So that they get a break for 3 hours. And that has really been a great place to recruit new buddies, because somebody might raise their hand and say, sure, I'll come. And, we have all kinds of activities. We have the room set up as different stations. Maybe it's a game station, a craft station, all different kinds of crazy things. And say, hey, would you work the station, or would you actually work alongside a student? And almost every time after they're a part of that, they either say, I want to continue serving this capacity at the respite, or I actually want to serve on Sunday. I want to be with this kid every single week. And so that's been a tremendous tool. And then
How often do you do the respites?
so we were doing them, no, we were doing them every month. And then we were doing Parents' Day out on Black Friday as a way to give parents the opportunity to prepare for the holidays. So that would be a longer extended day. We'd have different shifts of volunteers and have tons of crazy activities for the kids to do. And so that was always a great turnout too. Again, any little opportunity that you can give people to be a part of it, to rub shoulders and to see, oh, actually, this isn't as crazy as I thought it was, it's not as involved. It's not as, don't get me wrong, there are certain, pieces of it that you do have to be very intentional and thoughtful with your planning. But at the same time, for somebody that doesn't have experience, there are ways to train them and to bring somebody else alongside them who does have the training and the skills to support that. So that was also like another big area where we have recruited, our buddies from. And then Night to Shine, we have been involved.
Oh yeah, I wanted to make sure we brought that up to tell people what that is.
So the Tim Tebow Foundation started Night to Shine in 2014. It's a prom for teens and adults with special needs. And Tim has hosted it on the Friday night before Valentine's every year. And it's just been an incredible, we got in on it the first year and have continued to do it because it's just been an incredible, it's literally probably our church's favorite night of the year, where we literally have had 1,000 guests and then 1,000 buddies and about another 1,000 volunteers, all just to make these proms possible. Sometimes we've done multiple locations.
And you have like a waiting list of people just trying to volunteer for this, right? And
you
you vet people and make sure that, it's crazy.
Yeah, it really has turned into a crazy thing where we're like, we put the registration up, because there is a process, like you said, you have to go through a background check, all of this training. And with all of that, we still sell out. And I say sell out, it's free, but like we sell out within hours of posting because everyone wants to be involved with it. It's just such an incredible night. And I love how it honors each individual and really makes them feel like a VIP. I mean, it's just an incredible experience.
Yeah, people, if you don't know anything about it, Google it and just look it up and you'll see photos and videos and stuff. And the kids are just so cute. They're so excited. They get all dressed up. And I think, do they all become kings and queens? And
yes, there's a crowning ceremony. All of each guest gets a corsage or a boutonniere. They have the opportunity to have their hair or makeup done or their shoes shined. They get to go on a limousine ride. So we try to really bring out, but I mean, honestly, the best part is all of the dancing. They are fabulous dancers and it's just incredible. I mean, everyone leaves completely exhausted when the night is over, but it is the most fulfilling and rewarding night of the year for sure.
So cute. So now where do you fit thousands of people? Did they all come to the church?
Yes. So our Morris County location in Parsippany, we are able to host that many guests at a time, but we have also done it, like I said, in a couple of locations on the same night. So there might be like 500 guests at one, and another one might have 200. It's all based on where our campuses, our locations are for Liquid Church. So it's been incredible to do it across, the counties that we have locations in, but also to be able to host the last one that we did in 2020 in person here in Morris County. We actually did it 2 nights back to back, and it was incredible.
Wow. Because there's so many people.
Yeah, the need is huge. I mean, and the foundation is really great with supporting people that are interested in getting involved and hosting it at a location that's near you. And, we've always been like, the need is so great, especially in New Jersey, but we're always like cheering other places on to get involved with it because it's just an incredible night.
And it's free for them.
Yes.
To come. So what does the foundation pay for? Like DJs or what?
So the foundation has like a package when you're starting out. And then moving forward, it's up to your organization to either, create your own funding for the event if you, continue longer term. So that's something that we've made a commitment to as a church, because we just love it and see the value in it. And so it's something that we do.
I'm just wondering if everybody volunteers, like what would the expense be? This is if anybody else wants to host
Sure.
this. I'm just curious. I want to get
Yeah,
that information
I
out.
think it does. Yeah, it definitely.
Is it like for decorations and for a DJ? And who does like their hair and everything? Is that?
So that is all volunteer based. So we have, that's like a position that you can sign up to volunteer for. So there are a lot of ways. You can make it as big or small financially as you want to, quite honestly.
Mhm.
And depending on what kind of meal you're serving and all of that.
Oh, okay. There's food. Okay. I didn't realize
food
there's
involved.
a meal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so like the basics of supplying the crown and the tiara, the corsage, the boutonniere, the limo, the DJ, but some of those things like DJ, we've had volunteers, depending if you have a dance floor, you need to rent a dance floor or you're going to a location where you're renting space. But the foundation has really also been a huge proponent of trying to host it actually within the church, because they do want to really, it's exactly like what you're saying, like the church should be the place where you can bring anyone. And for some churches, this is how they get their feet wet for the first time, is doing a Night to Shine prom. And so I remember the first time that we did it, we had 100 guests. And when I saw that 100 people were paired as buddies to be with a guest the whole night, and when I saw what happened to those 100 people after that experience, that's we have to keep doing this, because it's life-changing for the person who may not have any experience at all.
Right. Okay, that's it for part 1. Be sure to tune in for part 2. I hope you enjoyed listening and it helped you gain a new perspective. If you're interested in buying our book series, Robbie's World and His Spectrum of Adventures, the link will be in our episode description, as well as my Instagram and Facebook pages. If you enjoyed the show and you'd like more content, please be sure to hit that like button, follow us, and don't forget to leave us a great review. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to join us again on our next episode of Spectrum Perspectives.
Thank you for joining us for part 1 of today's episode. Be sure to join us again next time to hear the second half of the interview on Spectrum Perspectives.
I found this love, I believe in the sun.